Yin stared at the towering skyscraper in front of her, a mixture of awe and nervousness in her chest. Just last night, she had received an email saying she had passed the online test stage for a job at this famous property company in Korea. Previously, Yin had worked as a CEO's secretary at an advertising company, but the salary she received was too low, far from worth the workload she had to bear. After much thought, she decided to quit that job and try her luck elsewhere. Yin didn't know how much this company offered in terms of salary, but judging by its size, surely the pay would be better than her previous job. Taking another deep breath, Yin stepped into the company lobby. Today, she would be having a face-to-face interview with the CEO. There were 5 candidates, including herself, waiting for their turn. Yin was the last in line. One by one, the candidates were called in and came out with expressions Yin couldn't quite read. She took another sip from her water bottle and checked her reflection in the mirror to ensure her makeup was still neat. "Miss Park Yin, please come in." Yin nodded, trying to smile politely. "I can do this," she told herself. She had to get this job if she wanted to rent a better apartment. Her current place was quite small, with only 1 bedroom. It would be really inconvenient if her parents visited from the countryside and there was no extra room for them. A calming masculine scent greeted Yin as she stepped into the CEO's office. Her eyes wandered curiously and quickly took in her surroundings. The CEO's office was spacious, possibly even bigger than her tiny apartment. Suddenly, Yin blinked. There was a man who looked oddly familiar, scribbling on something at his desk. "How long are you planning to just stand there?" That deep voice made Yin jolt. When the man looked up, she was stunned even more. Jungkook, who was now smirking, leaned back on his chair, clearly enjoying Yin's shocked expression. "How rude of you to call me that." "Wait, what?" Then Yin's eyes caught sight of the nameplate on the desk, CEO Jungkook. Her knees nearly gave out. She hadn't expected Jungkook to be the CEO of the company she applied to. She hadn't even looked up who the CEO was. How careless. Yin and Jungkook had gone to the same university. More precisely, they had been rivals. They never got along and always argued about everything from important topics to completely trivial ones. After not seeing him for 2 years, fate had brought them together again, in the most unexpected way. You're the CEO of this company?" Yin still held out hope. Maybe Jungkook was just an assistant or something. She'd heard the CEO of this property company was much older. "Do I really need to answer that? How is that even possible?" That silly question made Jungkook chuckle. His eyes gleamed with amusement. Finally, he had reunited with this stubborn girl who used to make his days more exciting. He hadn't believed it at first when he saw her resume, Park Yin applying as a secretary at his company. He had only taken over as CEO from his father 6 months ago. He had known Yin was already working as a secretary elsewhere, but seeing her name and photo again had stirred something in him. After all this time, she still had the power to make his heart race. Yes, Jungkook and Yin had secretly liked each other back then, but pride kept them from admitting it. So instead, they just fought constantly over meaningless things. "Why not?" Jungkook asked casually. "I took over my dad's position. If not me, then who else would be the CEO here?" Yin suddenly remembered. Jungkook was an only child from a wealthy family. His father was indeed the CEO of a property company, but she never knew the company's name. Great, now her heart was pounding wildly again after so long. "And how long do you plan to stand there?" he added. "I never conduct interviews standing up. I'm kind enough to let candidates sit, you know." Yin snorted. Jungkook was still the same, arrogant and annoying, but there was no turning back now. She had come this far. She needed this job. She wasn't going to back down before getting the result. Slowly, Yin stepped forward. Jungkook gave a faint smile and tilted his chin, gesturing for her to sit. Yin closed her eyes briefly, trying to calm her nerves. Now she was face to face with Jungkook again. He still looked as handsome as ever. His features had grown sharper, with a strong jawline and intense eyes. The expensive suit hugging his athletic frame made it clear she was now dealing with the same silly rival from college who had become a powerful CEO radiating authority. "I want us to be professional," Yin said before the interview began. "Let's not bring up our messy history." Jungkook chuckled, crossing his arms as he studied her. "Sure, I'll be professional," he said. Then his gaze suddenly turned serious. "So, shall we begin, Miss Yin?" Throughout the interview, Jungkook never once brought up their past or got personal. He was completely professional. When he was serious like that, Yin could really feel his commanding presence and leadership. "I think that's enough. Do you have any questions?" he asked. Yin hesitated, but this was her chance. "If I get accepted, how much would I be paid?" Jungkook gave a faint smile, opened a folder, and handed it to her. "This is the salary you'll receive," he said, eyes fixed on hers, excluding bonuses. Yin's eyes widened. She blinked several times. Insane. The salary listed was 3 times what she used to make. And that didn't even include bonuses? Unbelievable. She could afford a luxurious apartment if she got this job. "Looks like you're very interested, Miss Yin," Jungkook teased, amused by her shocked expression. Yin cleared her throat awkwardly. Even though she was very tempted, she tried to stay calm and not embarrass herself. "Yes, I'm very interested. I hope you'll consider my potential to be your secretary." Jungkook chuckled softly. He found her formal demeanor surprisingly cute and charming. "That depends on how well you did in the interview. You'll be contacted by our team tomorrow with the results." "Yes, sir." It felt weird calling him sir, but Yin had to be respectful. Jungkook's eyes sparkled, his ears slightly red. Damn, she could still fluster him at the worst times. "Well then, you may leave now," he said quickly, before he ended up doing something embarrassing because of his feelings. Yin nodded. Before walking out, she glanced back at him. There were so many things she wanted to say, but her lips stayed shut. Without a word, she exited the room. Jungkook let out a long breath and chuckled. She is still the same. Smart, beautiful, graceful, and intriguing, he whispered to himself as he stood up, walking over to the glass window to look down at the girl who had just left his office. His heart warmed. "Looks like my days are going to be full of surprises from now on," he murmured with a smile, shaking his head. Today is Yin's first day working as Jungkook's secretary. 2 days ago, she received an email confirming she was accepted for the job at the company. Naturally, Yin was overjoyed. Her efforts hadn't been in vain. But last night, she was so nervous about working with Jungkook that she couldn't sleep and only managed to fall asleep around 3 a.m. Yin overslept. She barely managed a quick shower and threw on clothes in a rush without having time to do her makeup properly. "You must arrive before Mr. Jungkook gets there." Mr. Jungkook is a very disciplined man. He doesn't tolerate any form of lateness. Those words echoed in her mind, said by the HR staff who had contacted her yesterday to help her prepare. Yin cursed herself. She mustn't be late. Fortunately, the traffic was kind to her. She kept checking her watch anxiously. Jungkook was scheduled to arrive at exactly 8 a.m. It was now 7:50. Not wasting a second, Yin ran to the floor where the CEO's office was. As his secretary, she had been stationed right outside Jungkook's office. She ignored the odd looks people gave her as she rushed through the halls. Yin sighed in relief when she finally arrived at her desk. She noticed Jungkook's office was still closed and the lights were off. That meant he hadn't arrived yet. She quickly sat down. She needed to fix her appearance, but before she could even touch her makeup, Jungkook appeared, walking straight toward her. Yin stood up, offering a polite smile. Although she still sometimes resented the fact that she was now secretary to her former rival, she had to acknowledge that she got this job thanks to Jungkook. "Good morning, sir." Jungkook raised one eyebrow, scanning Yin from head to toe. "Did you just survive a hurricane?" he asked, ignoring her greeting completely. Yin frowned. She almost laughed at the absurdity of his question. "What do you mean, sir?" Jungkook scoffed. "Fix your appearance," he said irritably, accompanied by a crooked smile. "You're my secretary now, and you'll be by my side during meetings. Your appearance needs to be fresh and neat at all times. I don't want my clients running away after seeing you looking like this, like someone who just finished chasing a thief." Without waiting for her response, Jungkook entered his office. Yin muttered in frustration. "I wasn't chasing a thief. I was chasing the bus so I wouldn't be late." She huffed and quickly pulled out a mirror. Immediately, she groaned in embarrassment. Her face was bare. No makeup at all. Her hair was a mess from all the running. One of her blouse buttons was even undone. Then she let out a small, stifled scream. "Ugh, Jungkook, you jerk. You could have just pretended not to see me instead of commenting on my appearance. You really don't understand how women feel at all. Damn." 1 week later. "Yin, come to my office now." The call from the intercom rang out clearly, and Yin let out a slow sigh. Jungkook's orders were not to be questioned. After working with him for a week, Yin finally understood why her salary was so high. Jungkook was extremely disciplined, a perfectionist who didn't hesitate to point out her mistakes. But on the other hand, Jungkook wasn't the type to hold grudges. He could easily forget Yin's past work mistakes and act like nothing had ever happened, even when Yin had been terrified. Before her annoying boss started yelling again, Yin quickly got up from her seat. "What is it, sir?" Jungkook was still busy with his laptop, not even glancing at her as he pushed 2 files across the desk. Review these files again before I sign them. Some parts still don't sit right with me, especially the budget section. I want it done before lunch. Also, don't forget to prepare the meeting materials properly this time so it won't be a mess like yesterday. He said all of that so quickly that Yin struggled to process it. She just stood there, blinking repeatedly. Jungkook looked up, noticing she was still standing there. He frowned, confused. Why are you still here? Get to work. Yin gave a small, sheepish smile, equal parts nervous and embarrassed. Sorry, sir. Could you repeat that? You spoke too fast. I didn't quite catch it. Jungkook exhaled sharply. If it had been anyone else, he would have already snapped at his new secretary. He narrowed his eyes. I'll let it slide this time, but next time, pay attention. I don't like repeating myself. Yes, sir, Yin replied with a pout. Jungkook was handsome. He was someone she liked, but when he was angry, he became terrifying. You work here now, so you need to quickly adapt to the way I work, Jungkook said, maintaining his professionalism even when dealing with Yin. Yin nodded and lowered her head. She used to be able to face Jungkook without fear, but things had changed. Yes, sir, I'm sorry, she said quietly. Then, under her breath, she muttered, Are you giving instructions or rapping? What did you just say? Jungkook asked, not quite catching her words. Yin frantically shook her head. Oh no, if he had heard that, she'd be in trouble. Nothing, sir. It was nothing, she said with an awkward grin. Could you repeat that one more time? I'll listen carefully this time. Jungkook gave a faint smile. His hearing was sharp. In this quiet room, he had actually heard her muttered complaint. Review these files again before I sign them. Some parts still don't sit right with me, especially the budget section. I want it done before lunch. Also, don't forget to prepare the meeting materials properly this time so it won't be a mess like yesterday, he repeated calmly. Got it? Is everything clear? This time, his voice was so gentle, and to Yin's dismay, that only made her cheeks and ears flush red. She swallowed hard. Yes, sir, perfectly clear, she replied, clearly flustered. Okay, get to it now. Yin nodded obediently and quickly exited the room, trying to calm her racing heart. Learning from her previous mistakes, Yin had now carefully prepared the materials Jungkook would need for the meeting. She didn't want to get scolded again and again. The meeting room was spacious, and several division representatives were present. Yin sat beside Jungkook, paying close attention to a marketing staff member presenting their sales strategy. Jungkook, too, was focused, idly playing with a pen as his eyes remained fixed on the presentation screen. Suddenly, Yin felt thirsty and reached for the mineral water prepared on the table. She bent forward slightly and took a sip. Oh my, Yin choked. The presentation paused as all eyes turned toward her, including Jungkook, who frowned. Yin gave a sheepish grimace, grabbed a tissue, and wiped her mouth. She was utterly shocked by what she had just seen down below. Noticing all the eyes on her, she gave a small, awkward nod and smiled. Sorry, I just choked a little, she said softly. Please, carry on. Everyone turned their attention back to the screen. Yin now looked at Jungkook nervously. Her gaze kept shifting from his face to his pants. Jungkook, sensing her stare, raised an eyebrow and mouthed, What? Yin didn't know how to explain. She pointed subtly downward with her chin. Her panicked face only deepened Jungkook's confusion as he frowned further. Yin's eyes widened in frustration. He still didn't get it. She glanced around. Fortunately, no one else had noticed yet. Seriously? Jungkook, didn't you check before leaving the restroom? Yin cursed silently. Before the meeting, Jungkook had gone to the bathroom. He must have been in such a rush that he didn't realize he'd left his zipper open. Panic rose in Yin's chest as the presentation neared its end. If Jungkook stood up like that, and he always stood first, he'd humiliate himself in front of everyone. His reputation could take a serious hit, and as his secretary, Yin felt it was her responsibility to protect his image, even if he was incredibly annoying sometimes. There was no other choice. She had to act. With a trembling hand, she moved her arm under the table toward him. Carefully, she reached for his zipper and hastily pulled it up, but in doing so, her hand unintentionally brushed against his most valuable asset. Yin cursed inwardly, her face burning with embarrassment. She quickly pulled her hand back. Jungkook, surprised by her sudden action, finally understood. He gasped when her small hand brushed against him. It was just a brief, accidental touch with no intention behind it, but it was more than enough to make him feel tense and constricted. Yin, still holding her breath in embarrassment, immediately turned her face away, though not fast enough to avoid Jungkook's now narrowing, suspicious gaze. Her face flushed bright red, and the hand that had been involved just now was now hidden under a file folder, as if the folder could swallow her whole out of shame. She quickly looked down the moment she realized Jungkook was staring at her. Her face burned like fire. She tried to refocus on the presentation screen, but the speaker's words sounded like a swarm of bees buzzing in her ears. All she could feel was her breath still refusing to calm, and her heart pounding against her ribs. From the corner of her eye, she knew Jungkook was still watching her. Jungkook leaned slightly to the side, silently, just a subtle motion that only Yin would notice. He scribbled something quickly in the small notebook in front of him, then gently pushed it toward her. "Do you, usually, help your boss like that?" Yin widened her eyes slightly. Her face flamed red once again. She grabbed her pen and wrote a reply quickly, pressing hard on the paper. "No, that was an emergency." Jungkook held back a smile. He wrote again, "Then, thank you, but don't touch it again without my permission." Yin turned toward him quickly with an expression that screamed, "Are you insane?" but immediately looked down again as a few heads began to glance their way. She wrote back furiously, "Are you thanking me or insulting me?" Jungkook scribbled back, "Both." Yin gritted her teeth. Her hand trembled with the urge to scribble all over his smug face with the pen, but instead, she just frowned deeply and kicked his foot under the table. Jungkook quickly withdrew his leg while suppressing a laugh. This time, he scribbled one final line, "Don't worry, I won't fire you just for touching mine." Yin rolled her eyes and took a deep breath, then tore off half the page, rolled it up, and shoved it into her bag. Jungkook blinked and looked at her in confusion. Yin wrote one last reply, "Evidence of a crime must be destroyed." Jungkook chuckled silently, his shoulders shaking with laughter. Yin was still irritated, but beneath her flushed cheeks and pounding heart, a tiny smile was creeping at the corner of her lips. Damn, this was ridiculous. This was awkward. The meeting finally ended. As usual, Jungkook and Yin exited first, while the other employees remained in the meeting room to continue internal discussions after their CEO's evaluation. The meeting room door closed behind them. Yin walked quickly without looking back at Jungkook, who was a few steps behind. Her face still felt like it was on fire. Her eyes locked forward as if even the slightest glance back would melt her into a puddle of shame. Jungkook's footsteps grew closer, and sure enough, he soon walked beside her, hands in his trouser pockets, as if nothing embarrassing had just happened. "You did that on purpose, didn't you?" Yin whispered without looking at him, keeping her voice low since several staff members were passing by. "Did what on purpose?" Jungkook replied in a flat tone, but one brow raised, his expression mischievous. Yin shot him a glare. "That, your zipper." Jungkook turned to her, trying not to laugh. "Oh, so now it's my fault I forgot to zip up?" "You're the CEO. The least you could do is check your appearance before entering the meeting room." "I have a secretary now, so I figured I could trust her to catch important details like that." Yin stopped walking. Jungkook instinctively stopped too. "You call your zipper an important detail?" Jungkook shrugged. "Obviously, if I had stood up and everyone saw, my reputation would be ruined. But thanks to you, all is safe." He looked at her, a sly smile playing at his lips. "You're my hero today." Yin gasped. "Hero? Touching. That isn't in my job description." Jungkook leaned in slightly, causing Yin to instinctively step back half a pace. But he only whispered softly, like a breeze, "Relax. I won't dock your salary." Yin nearly smacked him with the file folder in her hand. "Mr. Jungkook, if you don't stop joking like this, I swear I'll resign." Jungkook took one more step closer. This time his voice dropped, more serious, calmer. "You won't get away that easily, Yin." Yin froze. Her heart skipped at the shift in his tone. But the very next second, Jungkook smirked again. "There are still lots of my zippers you need to make sure stay closed." Yin let out a small shriek. "Oh my god," then covered her face with the folder and quickly turned around, storming off, leaving Jungkook behind, laughing silently, his shoulders shaking as he tried to contain his amusement in the office hallway. A few days later. Today was the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of a new apartment complex by Jungkook's company. Yin, acting as Jungkook's secretary, of course, had to attend. What was supposed to be an exciting day quickly turned into a nightmare for Yin when she realized, while in the car, that the strap of her bra had come undone. Yesterday, after receiving her first paycheck, an amount that left her speechless, she immediately asked her best friend to go shopping at the mall with her. Yin bought several outfits to enhance her appearance as a CEO's secretary. Honestly, she wanted to look beautiful in front of Jungkook. As they passed through the underwear section, Yin couldn't resist buying a few bras that she found particularly attractive and elegant. And today was her first day wearing one of them. Unfortunately, the strap came loose. Instead of fastening it at the innermost hook, she had mistakenly used the outermost one. She must have been careless earlier. Understandably, it was her first time wearing it after all. Jungkook frowned when he noticed Yin squirming restlessly in the passenger seat beside him. They were already on the road, heading to the event location. "What's wrong with you?" he asked. Yin jolted, then turned to him with an awkward smile. "Oh, it's nothing, sir." Of course, there was no way she could tell Jungkook that her bra strap had come undone. That would be absolutely ridiculous. Jungkook, clearly unconvinced by her answer, chose not to press further since she looked visibly uncomfortable. He kept his hands on the wheel, eyes back on the road. Ever since Yin became his secretary, Jungkook preferred to drive himself. This way, they could have some time alone together. His previous secretary was male and usually the one driving the car. Jungkook's car had now arrived at the venue, and that only made Yin even more nervous and panicked. Outside, people were already standing in a crowd, waiting for Jungkook's arrival. There was no way she could go to the restroom to fix her bra clasp. She'd have to walk past all those people. To make things worse, the blouse she was wearing was thin, even if not see-through. It outlined her bra faintly, and that made her even more self-conscious. Like it or not, she would have to fix the clasp inside the car. The only problem was, Jungkook was right there. "Sir, could you step out first?" "Why?" Jungkook asked, confused. "There's something I need to take care of first," Yin replied, and seeing that Jungkook didn't move, she added, "It's a woman's issue," she said quietly, "so I need some privacy." "The event's starting soon," Jungkook argued. "It'll just be a moment, I promise," Yin pleaded with a tight smile. She hoped Jungkook wouldn't ask anything more. Jungkook let out a soft sigh. He gave in this time. Yin's face was red, whether from illness or embarrassment, he couldn't tell. Not wanting to pressure her, Jungkook finally got out of the car. "Don't take too long, I'll wait outside." Yin nodded. As soon as the door closed, she quickly reached behind her to fasten her bra again. But damn, it wasn't working, no matter how many times she tried. Frustrated, she clicked her tongue. She couldn't take off her blouse in the car, not in such an exposed area like this. Meanwhile, outside the car, Jungkook checked his watch. 10 minutes had passed, far too long for the just a moment she'd promised. "What is she doing in there?" he muttered under his breath. Curious, Jungkook walked back toward the car window and checked inside the car. His eyes widened in shock when he saw Yin struggling to fasten her bra clasp. Jungkook immediately turned his face away once he realized what he had just seen. His face turned red, not from embarrassment, but from shock and a bit of confusion about what to do. But in an instant, his expression changed. He could clearly see through the window that Yin was frustrated. She had tried several times, but still failed to fasten her bra. He looked around. Some event staff were busy in the distance, but no one was paying attention to their car. With a long sigh, Jungkook gently knocked on the car window. Yin quickly turned, her face in panic. Jungkook raised an eyebrow and gestured, "Unlock the door." "No, no, no," Yin muttered nervously from inside, shaking her head while covering her chest with her hands in a folder. But Jungkook just stood there, waiting with a serious expression. Finally, with great hesitation, Yin pressed the lock button. The door opened slightly. Jungkook bent down and spoke very softly, only loud enough for Yin to hear. "Need help?" Yin's eyes widened. "Are you crazy?" "No." Jungkook raised an eyebrow. "If not, we'll be late and you'll walk out with your bra undone." Yin wanted nothing more than to sink into the car seat and disappear, but after several seconds of tense silence, she let out a resigned sigh. Her face was as hot as boiling water. "Want me to help?" Jungkook repeated, a glint of amusement in his eyes. Yin bit her lower lip, hesitating. She really didn't want Jungkook's help. It was mortifying, but if she didn't get help, she wasn't sure she could manage it alone. She pouted, feeling even more trapped as more people arrived at the event. "Just be quick, and don't look," she whispered. Without another word, Jungkook got in and shut the door. The car once again became a small, pressurized space. He sat beside her and cleared his throat softly. "You're back." Yin bit her lip. With extreme embarrassment, she turned around, her back now facing Jungkook. Her small hands still held the bra in place from the front. Jungkook leaned in. Yin shivered a little as his breath tickled the back of her neck, exposed now that her hair was tied up. Carefully, Jungkook pulled aside the shirt Yin was wearing. He could see the smooth, pale skin of her back. For a moment, he froze. The feel of her soft skin beneath his fingers nearly made him lose control. Don't lose control, Jungkook. Stay focused. He scolded himself silently. Jungkook then reached for the bra strap. Which clasp? He asked, his voice low and deep. The innermost one, Yin answered nervously. She closed her eyes. It felt like the world stopped spinning right then. She could hear her own heartbeat thundering in her chest, ready to explode. She clutched the folder tightly to her chest, trying hard not to bolt. Jungkook nodded. Then he fastened the clasp just as she instructed. Click, done, he said quietly, his voice a little hoarse. He quickly pulled her shirt back down before he truly lost control. Once finished, Yin quickly turned back around. The air felt so awkward. Her face was blazing red. She couldn't bring herself to look at him. Thank you. Jungkook gave a small smile. Next time, don't wear something so thin when we have an outdoor agenda. He didn't want Yin's beautiful figure to be ogled by other men. Yes, sir. Jungkook nodded slightly. Nice bra, by the way. Mr. Jeon Jungkook, Yin nearly screamed, smacking his arm with her folder. Jungkook chuckled quietly, quickly opening the door and stepping out before Yin could throw anything else at him. But before he shut the door, he leaned in slightly and said with a mischievous smile, if you ever need help putting it on again, just call me. The door shut. Yin stared blankly forward. Oh my god, she groaned loudly, collapsing against the seat and covering her face with both hands. Her heart was still racing, but in the midst of all the embarrassment, her lips unknowingly curled into a small smile, realizing that Jungkook actually cared about her, even if it was in the most humiliating way possible. Yin stepped out of the car briskly, her face still red, but she tried her best to act as professionally as possible. The folder in her hand was like a shield she used to hide the lingering panic from earlier in the car. Jungkook followed from the other side of the car, already wearing sunglasses and a formal suit, his expression unreadable as if nothing had happened. Though inside, he was still trying not to laugh. He wanted to tease Yin again, but he knew this wasn't the right time. Stop looking at me like that, Yin whispered when they stood side by side in front of the event's backdrop. I'm not even looking at you, Jungkook replied, still staring straight ahead with a small smile. But I can feel your gaze, Yin grumbled, subtly fixing her shirt. Some officials and media began to arrive. The formal atmosphere grew heavier. Photographers started snapping pictures of Jungkook standing in front of the ceremonial stack of cement. Yin stood slightly behind, holding the event files and the order of speeches. But unfortunately, every time she sneaked a glance at him, he always turned to look first. They caught each other several times, only to quickly look away. Awkward, crazy, unprofessional. Yin, Jungkook whispered, slightly leaning back. What now? Yin looked at him suspiciously. Is your bra still secure? Yin instantly choked on her own breath. You want me to dump this cement on your face? She hissed sharply. Jungkook chuckled, then stepped forward as the MC called his name for a speech. Yin exhaled deeply. Her eyes followed the man's back as he walked to the podium. Why do embarrassing things always happen between us? A few minutes later, the groundbreaking ceremony began. Jungkook held a shovel filled with cement, standing beside the project executives. Reporters took photos, staff clapped lightly, and the atmosphere felt very official. But from a distance, Yin could still catch the moment Jungkook glanced at her briefly, quickly, almost imperceptibly. And despite herself, Yin smiled faintly. So annoying. But she bowed her head slightly, trying to hide her flushed face from the others. That smile, I just can't resist it. Can I? The event was finally over. The car cruised down the highway, leaving the busy project site behind. Yin sat in the passenger seat, unusually quiet. Her fingers fidgeted with the edge of the folder on her lap. Her eyes occasionally glanced out the window, pretending to be busy watching the road. Behind the wheel, Jungkook wasn't saying much either. One hand on the steering wheel, the other resting casually on his thigh like always. The silence wasn't ordinary. Something hung heavy in the air. Eventually, Yin couldn't take it anymore. About earlier, please don't tell anyone about that. Jungkook glanced at her briefly, raising an eyebrow. You embarrassed? Yin swallowed hard, already regretting starting the topic. But no turning back now. You didn't have to help. I mean, it wasn't your business. Jungkook gave a small smile, but I helped anyway. Because you like making me feel embarrassed, right? Yin accused, her cheeks flushing again. I helped because I couldn't stand seeing you that frustrated, Jungkook said casually. Besides, it was a life or death situation. Imagine if you moved wrong while greeting someone and then… Stop. Yin quickly cut him off, covering her face with both hands. I'm just asking you to keep it a secret. You don't have to go into detail. I swear I'll jump out of this car if you keep talking about it. Jungkook chuckled. The door's locked. Yin turned to him dramatically. You're evil. Aren't you a secretary? You should be able to handle emergencies, even the most personal ones. Yin glared. That's not in the company SOP, Mr. Jian. Jungkook turned to her quickly, their eyes meeting. This time, his smile wasn't as wide, softer, or more subtle. What if I made my own SOP? Your tasks would include personal things like checking if my hair's neat, fixing my tie, and making sure my zipper is up. Yin froze. This time, the air in the car truly changed, quiet, but her heart pounded louder. You're joking, right? I'm your secretary, not your wife. Oh, so you'd prefer it if I just made you my wife instead? Jungkook murmured, his eyes back on the road. Yin bit her lower lip, falling silent. She turned to look out the window again, but now, her face was red from her neck to her ears. A moment later, the radio turned on softly, and a mellow pop song filled the quiet space between them. Jungkook glanced at her. This song suits the mood, huh? Suits this awkward moment, you mean? Yin replied, stifling a laugh. Jungkook sighed softly. Suits the romantic vibe, the one you keep rejecting. Yin quickly turned. Their eyes met, again, and this time, neither of them looked away. But of course, 5 seconds later. Eyes on the road, Mr. Jian, Yin shouted. Jungkook laughed out loud, then pulled the car over on a quiet stretch of road. The car was now parked on the side of a quiet road, with only the soft sound of the radio and the rustling of the wind. Outside, the trees swayed gently, and the sky began to turn golden as dusk approached. Yin slowly turned to look at Jungkook, who had just turned off the engine. Why, did we stop? She asked softly, slightly cautious. Jungkook turned to face her, staring intently. There was no teasing smile like before. His gaze was serious, yet gentle. Because I don't want to end today without explaining something. Yin swallowed hard, her heart beginning to race. Explaining what? Jungkook exhaled slowly, looking straight ahead before finally speaking. Yin, he said softly, aren't you tired of this? Yin frowned slightly. Tired? Of what? This, whatever we have, Jungkook replied, now looking at her seriously. We tease, we bicker, we reject each other, but we never really have the courage to be honest. Yin fell silent. I'm tired of pretending, Jungkook continued, so this time, I'm not going to hold back. Yin looked at him, confused. Hold back what? I love you, Yin. Silence fell. Yin froze in place, her eyes widened, lips slightly parted. She was clearly shocked. Seeing her reaction, Jungkook let out a soft chuckle. He raised his hand and gently caressed Yin's head, his fingers tucking away a few strands of her hair that had fallen across her forehead. You shouldn't be so surprised, Jungkook murmured softly, because I know you like me too. Yeah, Yin immediately glared at him, her cheeks flushing red. Don't be so full of yourself. But the truth is, you always get nervous around me. And those cheeks of yours, Jungkook pointed at his own cheek with a smirk, always turn red when you look at me. Yin suddenly felt hot and flustered, embarrassed, but also annoyed. She quickly began to playfully hit Jungkook's chest over and over, as if trying to hide her flustered state. You're so annoying, annoying, annoying. Jungkook didn't dodge at all. Instead, he laughed heartily, letting Yin hit him as much as she wanted. Wow, you're getting bolder, huh? Hitting your boss like this? I don't care. We're outside the office right now. I can't hit you at work tomorrow. Yin snapped, her cheeks still bright red. But then Jungkook suddenly caught both of her hands gently, stopping her movements. He held them tightly and looked deeply into her eyes. I'm serious, Yin. His voice was soft and sincere. I love you. Will you be my girlfriend? Yin didn't answer right away. Her lips pouted slightly. I don't want to. Jungkook was taken aback. Huh? I don't want to. Because you're annoying, Yin muttered, pouting and lowering her gaze. But instead of feeling rejected, Jungkook smiled gently. He leaned in slowly, then pressed a long, tender kiss on her forehead, full of emotion. Yin didn't pull away. She simply closed her eyes, letting that warm touch calm the storm in her chest. I'm sorry for being annoying all this time, Jungkook whispered after pulling away. Yin nodded slightly, still not meeting his gaze. Then she lifted her head and looked at him. Promise you won't be annoying anymore. Jungkook nodded. I promise. Then Yin gave a mischievous smile. One more thing. Promise you won't scold me at the office anymore. Jungkook chuckled and gently pinched her nose. That depends. If you make a huge mistake, I'll still have to scold you. Yin scoffed. Ugh, you're such a strict boss. They both laughed quietly, and in the middle of that playful laughter, their eyes met again, deeper, warmer than before. Jungkook slowly leaned forward, his movement tender and careful, like silently asking for permission. Yin didn't back away. Her breath caught, and when their lips finally touched, she responded softly. The kiss started gently, warm and tentative, but it slowly deepened. Her hand moved up, resting over his broad chest. Jungkook tilted his head slightly, and their lips met again, longer this time, until their tongues brushed and intertwined. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. It was as if the universe had made room just for the two of them. When they finally pulled away, slightly breathless, Yin remained in Jungkook's arms, her head resting against his chest. "One more thing," Jungkook murmured, running his fingers through her hair. Yin replied softly. "I promise, I'll make you fall in love with me even more than you ever thought possible." Yin giggled. "You already did, you know?" They both smiled, and that car stayed parked by the roadside, becoming the silent witness to their first real moment of romance, the moment two hearts finally stopped holding back.